The Girl Who Wore No Gold. In the heart of the quiet village of Mabali, where the sun kissed the red earth and the wind danced through tall banana trees, lived a girl named Ayanda. She was 16, barefoot most days, her dark skin shining like polished mahogany under the blazing sun. But unlike other girls her age, she wore no gold, no silver, and no bright beads in her braided hair. She had only one thing, a tattered leather bracelet, passed down from her grandmother, who was known to speak with spirits. Ayanda's mother, Mama Nandi, was a widow who traded mangoes at the dusty corner of the market. Their hut was small and crooked, but laughter often spilled from its open door. Still, the villagers gossiped. Why has Ayanda never been betrothed? She's beautiful, but too quiet, like a shadow at midday. Maybe it's the bracelet. It smells of magic. Ayanda heard the whispers but paid them no mind. She believed in what her grandmother had once told her. Your worth is not in gold, but in the blood that runs like rivers through your veins. That blood, her grandmother claimed, came from the old queens of the rainforests, women who ruled before men even learned to swing their spears. One hot afternoon, as the village children ran chasing goats and flinging pebbles, Ayanda wandered into the forest, far beyond the path where elders said spirits roamed. She liked the forest. It was the only place the world didn't feel too loud. She walked until she reached the old baobab tree, its trunk wide enough to hide 100 secrets. There, she sat and listened. Not to birds, not to wind. She listened for something else. That's when she heard it, a whisper. Soft, like breath over a drum skin. Ayanda. She looked around. No one. Her heart raced. Ayanda. She stood, eyes scanning the trees, her bracelet warm against her wrist. Then silence. Just then, a rustle. A twig snapped. And from behind the baobab stepped a man in a cloak made of woven vines and cowrie shells. His face was hidden, but his voice was deep like a drum. You are the girl who hears the forest, he said. Ayanda's feet wanted to run, but her spirit held her ground. Who are you? She asked, trying to sound braver than she felt. I am a guardian, the man said, and I've watched you since the river chose you at birth. The river chose me. Yes, he nodded. The day your mother bathed you in its waters, the current stopped. Not one leaf moved. That's when we knew, one day, you would wear the necklace. Ayanda stepped back. What necklace? But the man was already fading like mist in the heat. All that remained was a single cowrie shell, lying at the root of the baobab. She picked it up. The moment she touched it, her bracelet glowed. That night, she didn't tell her mother what happened. But she couldn't sleep. The shell now hung beside her bracelet, and dreams came like floods, dreams of women in gold crowns, of war drums, of fire-swallowing villages. The next morning, the village was different. A message had arrived. The king's soldiers were coming. They were looking for a girl with no gold, one who wore an old leather bracelet. Ayanda stood at the edge of the market, clutching her basket, the cowrie shell hidden in her palm. Something had begun. The stranger at the market. The morning air in Mabali was thick with heat and worry. News of the approaching soldiers had spread like wildfire, licking at every doorstep and curling around every clay pot. Children clung to their mothers, and elders whispered ancient prayers beneath their breath. The people of Mabali had seen soldiers before, but never like this, never asking for a girl with no gold. Ayanda tried to move through the market as she always did, carrying mangoes in her woven basket and avoiding the judging eyes. But today, it was different. Her every step felt watched. Even the mangoes, ripe and glowing with orange light, seemed to tremble in her hands. As she stood at her mother's stall, pretending to arrange fruit, a man approached. He was tall and strange, wearing a long dark robe that didn't match the village heat. His eyes, deep and sharp, searched her face like they were looking for a memory. He wasn't from Mabali. Ayanda knew everyone from the cradle to the grave. This man did not belong. You are Ayanda, he said, more as a fact than a question. She froze. Who's asking? He smiled, but it wasn't warm. I bring word from the capital. The king is searching for you. Her breath caught. Why? The necklace, he said. Ayanda clenched the cowrie shell hidden in her palm. I don't have any necklace. But you will, the man said. And when you do, the world will change. Mama Nandi appeared suddenly, her hand firm on Ayanda's shoulder. You've got the wrong girl, she told the man. My daughter wears no gold, no necklace, and no nonsense from strangers. The man studied Mama Nandi. She is her grandmother's blood. Leave, Mama Nandi said through her teeth. Now. The stranger bowed his head slightly, then turned and vanished into the crowd as if swallowed by smoke. That night, Ayanda couldn't sit still. The bracelet glowed again, just faintly. She held the cowrie shell to her chest, feeling it pulse like a second heartbeat. Her mother lit a candle and closed the hut's door. You need to tell me everything, Mama Nandi said. So Ayanda did. About the baobab tree, the vine-covered guardian, the whispering forest. Her mother listened in silence, then stood and pulled something from beneath her bed. It was an old box, carved with symbols Ayanda didn't recognize. Mama Nandi opened it to reveal a necklace, a single braided cord with 7 cowrie shells. This belonged to your grandmother, she said. She wore it when she spoke to the spirits. She said one day, the necklace would call someone new. Why didn't you ever tell me? Because I was afraid, her mother whispered. Afraid you'd be the one it called. Ayanda touched the necklace. The cowrie shell from the baobab began to glow, and the one in the necklace responded with a soft hum. It's starting, she murmured. Outside, drums echoed in the distance. Soldiers had entered the village. The soldiers came before dawn, their boots thudding against the clay paths like war drums on a battlefield. They carried spears tipped with silver and wore black leather stitched with golden lions. Their faces were hard, unreadable, like they'd forgotten how to smile long ago. Ayanda watched them from the shadows of her mother's hut, her heart thudding like a frightened antelope's. Her mother stood beside her, silent and tense, holding a small knife wrapped in cloth, just in case. The commander, a broad-shouldered woman with sharp eyes and braided hair, stepped into the center of the village and spoke. We come in the name of the king. A vision was seen in the sacred pool. A girl, born without gold, marked by the river, destined to find the necklace of destiny. She lives here among you. Gasps rippled through the crowd. The villagers shifted uneasily. Mama Nandi stepped forward. No such girl lives here. The commander's eyes narrowed. Then you won't mind if we search. They went from hut to hut, flipping mats, opening pots, scaring goats and scattering chickens. When they reached Ayanda's home, Mama Nandi blocked the doorway. My daughter is sick. Let her be. The commander was unmoved. No girl in Mabali is sicker than the kingdom itself. We must cure it. But before she could step inside, an elder's voice rose from the crowd. Let the baobab tree decide. It was old Bako, nearly blind, his skin wrinkled like old parchment. The tree knows the truth. If she's the one, it will speak. A murmur of agreement spread. Even the soldiers paused. The baobab tree was sacred, none dared challenge its will. So they marched to the edge of the forest, Ayanda in the center, the commander close behind. When they reached the great tree, silence fell. The wind itself held its breath. Ayanda stepped forward, clutching the necklace. The tree stood still. No birds sang. No leaves danced. Then came the whisper. Ayanda. The commander stiffened. What was that? Another whisper. Louder. Ayanda, daughter of rain, keeper of the shells. Suddenly, the baobab glowed with soft golden light. From a hollow in its trunk, something emerged, a final cowrie shell, larger than the rest, glowing like a fallen star. Ayanda reached out. The shell floated to her palm. As it touched her skin, the entire necklace shimmered and sealed itself around her neck. Gasps broke from the villagers. The soldiers stepped back. She is the one, old Bako whispered. The commander stared at her, eyes wide with something between fear and awe. You've been chosen, she said. And the kingdom will never be the same. Ayanda turned to the villagers. They weren't whispering anymore. They were bowing. The return and the challenge. When Tamu returned to Angelica, it was as if the land itself had changed. The once green fields were now dry and cracked. The river had shrunk to a narrow trickle. The trees bore no fruit. Faces that once smiled now carried worry and defeat. Even the air seemed heavier, as if the village breathed in sorrow. Word of his return spread like wildfire. That orphan has come back. Didn't he leave in shame? Why would he return now, after all these years? But those who saw him noticed something different. He no longer walked with the timid steps of a boy. His shoulders were straight, his gaze calm. On his back was a drum, dark, smooth, sacred. His presence carried something unfamiliar. Something powerful. Tamu walked straight to the center of the village and sat beneath the talking tree, a massive baobab where decisions and stories were shared. The elders gathered slowly, whispering among themselves. Children peered from behind their mother's legs. Then came Chief Makono, still draped in his leopard skin, though his hair had thinned and his face was marked with age. Makono narrowed his eyes. What brings you back, drum breaker? I bring rhythm, Tamu said simply. The kind this village has forgotten. Makono laughed bitterly. Rhythm. We need water, not music. We need food, not songs. I can bring both, Tamu said. But only if you let me drum. The villagers murmured. Some laughed. Others were curious. One of the elders stepped forward, Mama Sc, known for her wisdom. She studied Tamu carefully. You speak boldly for someone once cast out. I speak because I have learned, Tamu replied. In the mountains, I found a rhythm that speaks to the sky, to the soil, to the soul. Let me drum, and the rain will return. Makono scoffed. So now you call yourself a rainmaker? No, said Tamu. I am a listener. And I've listened to the land. It is tired. It is silent. But it still remembers the rhythm that made it dance. The challenge was clear. Drum and bring rain, or admit defeat and leave the village forever. Makono stepped forward. Very well. We will give you until sundown. If the skies remain dry, you will never return. Tamu nodded. I accept. That afternoon, the villagers gathered around the square. The fire was lit, though it barely held a flame in the dry air. Tamu sat cross-legged in the center, his drum before him. The people watched in silence, some skeptical, some secretly hopeful. Even Makono sat, arms crossed, but his eyes fixed on the boy who had once embarrassed him. Tamu closed his eyes. He breathed in. Then, with hands steady and heart full, he began to drum. The rhythm started soft, like the flutter of leaves in wind. Then it deepened, like the whisper of rain long forgotten. With each beat, the villagers felt something stir. Memories. Feelings. Echoes of a time when their land was alive and laughing. His drum spoke of birth and harvest. of grief and healing, of children's laughter and ancestors' chants. The sound danced into the earth and rose into the sky. The wind changed. A breeze rolled through the square, lifting skirts and flapping headwraps. The trees swayed. A hush fell over the people. Then, a drop. Just one, falling on Tamu's cheek. Another. Then another. Within minutes, the heavens opened. Rain. Cold, sweet, and sudden. The people screamed in joy. Children danced barefoot. Old men wept openly. Women knelt and raised their hands to the sky. And Tamu kept drumming, even as the water soaked his clothes and beat his drum in harmony. The earth drank it hungrily. The river began to swell. Makono stood frozen, his face unreadable. Then slowly, he walked to the boy, who now stood tall, drum in hand. "You have done what even our priests could not," he said. His voice was hoarse. "You are no longer a boy. You are the voice we lost." He knelt before Tamu. "I broke your drum," he said. "But you fixed our spirit." Tamu placed a hand on the chief's shoulder. It was never about the drum. It was about listening. From that day on, Tamu was given a place among the elders, not because of age, but because of wisdom. He was named the keeper of rhythm, and his beats were called upon during births, funerals, harvests, and storms. The village flourished again, not just with crops and rain, but with unity, song, and heart. Because the rhythm had returned. The rhythm that healed. The village of Angelica had changed. Since Tamu's return and the rain he summoned, the dry fields had turned green. The river now sang with life, and children ran through the grasses with bare feet and full bellies. The once fading drums of Angelica beat again, louder, prouder, deeper. But it wasn't just the land that healed. It was the people. Tamu became more than a drummer. He became a bridge. He taught young boys to carve drums with patience and young girls to play them with power. He sat with elders beneath the baobab tree, drumming not for entertainment, but for wisdom. And every evening, as the sun melted behind the hills, he would play a special rhythm, one that called to the hearts of everyone who could hear. But something troubled him quietly. As his name grew, so did the pride of those around him. The same villagers who had once mocked him now praised him too much. Some said he was a spirit reborn. Others whispered he could talk to gods. Tamu felt the weight of those words pressing on his shoulders. He remembered Mama Zuri's warning. Play not for praise, not for power. Play for truth. And one day, the truth came knocking. A traveler arrived from the neighboring village of Caravana, his face pale and voice trembling. "Our people are dying," he said. "The drums have fallen silent. The sickness spreads. We've lost children. Even the land rejects us." Tamu looked at Chief Makono. "I must go." Makono hesitated. "You've given us so much. If you leave, what will we do?" Tamu smiled gently. "I didn't give you rhythm. I reminded you of it. It's already within you. Now I must remind them." With his drum slung across his back, Tamu set off toward Caravana. The journey took 2 days. When he arrived, the village was a shadow of Angelica. The huts were cracked. The people weak and quiet. Flies hovered where laughter should have lived. He found the village square, once home to dance and stories, now silent as a graveyard. He knelt in the center. And began to drum. At first, no one came. His rhythm echoed through empty spaces and broken homes. But slowly, a child peeked out. Then another. An old woman leaned on a cane and whispered to a friend. Before long, a circle formed. Tamu's drum didn't sing of rain or strength. It hummed of pain, of loss, of memories of what once was. And as he played, tears began to fall, not from the sky, but from eyes long dried. Then he changed the rhythm. He played hope. He beat a song of rising again, of healing, of remembering joy. A boy tapped a stone beside him. A girl clapped softly. An elder picked up a dried gourd and shook it gently. And soon, the square was alive with sound. For the first time in months, Caravana breathed again. Tamu stayed for a week. He taught them how to drum their pain into peace. He showed them that healing was not only in medicine, but in connection, to each other, to the earth, to their past. When he finally rose to leave, the village gathered. "Stay," they begged. Tamu shook his head. "I am only a reminder. You must keep the rhythm alive." As he walked away, the sound of Caravana's drums followed him. Back in Angelica, time passed. Tamu grew older. His hair grayed, and children who once learned under him now taught their own. But still, every evening, he played that same rhythm under the baobab, steady, soft, sacred. One day, a young boy approached him with wide eyes and a carved piece of broken wood. "Grandfather," he said, "I found this near the river." "What is it?" Tamu smiled, recognizing it at once, the splintered piece of his first drum, broken by Chief Makono all those years ago. "That," he said, "was the drum that once spoke my pain." The boy looked confused. "But it's broken." "Yes," said Tamu. "And it made me whole." He placed the piece gently in the boy's hands. "Take it. Make something new. The rhythm is already in you." The boy beamed and ran off. Tamu leaned back, eyes to the sky, hands resting on his beloved drum. He listened. The wind danced through leaves. Children laughed in the distance. A woman pounded yam nearby. And beneath it all, he heard the same thing he always did. Rhythm. Because in every broken thing, in every silence, in every heart, the drum still speaks.